Hey there! We're going to talk about a subject today that I think is an important one. It's definitely a burning question in every divine feminine's mind, which is, why doesn't the divine masculine obsess over me the way that I obsess over them? Because we all know that on a certain level we obsess over our divine masculine. Even if you're someone who is really good at masking and hiding that, and your divine masculine has no idea that you're obsessing over them, which is often the case, there's still an excessive amount of obsessing that does go on. And we always wonder, what are they doing that? Are they obsessing over me? Why don't they obsess over me? Is there something wrong with me? Is there something that I'm doing wrong? Do they not love me? Am I not lovable? I mean, it can really open up a huge can of worms in our own mind as to why the divine masculine doesn't respond the same way to the twin flame dynamic that we do. And of course, this is all something that takes place after what is termed the bubble love phase. So during the bubble love phase, they're really interested in us. They want to talk to us. They're just as the energy is the same. They're matching our energy, and they're wanting to see us just as often as we're wanting to see them. Sometimes it seems almost as if they're the ones who are pursuing and kind of facilitating the escalation in the relationship way more than we are. And so when that shift takes place and suddenly they're behaving in a completely different way than they were before, we start to question why. Of course, it sends us into a giant tailspin. And sometimes that descent can be really slow for some, but others, it can be, almost overnight. So there's different ways that this can play out. Not everyone's journey is the same. You're going to hear me say that 1,000 times. Everyone's journey is unique and different. And it's important. The reason why I say that so often is it's such an important thing to know and to understand. It actually is a huge part of the journey itself. And there's a really valid reason behind why that's a part of the journey from a spiritual perspective. But that's for another video. We're not going to go into that today. What we are going to talk about is why the divine masculine responds differently and why they don't obsess over you the same way that you obsess over them. And let me calm all of your nerves first and foremost. Your divine masculine not obsessing over you isn't because you're not worthy or that you're not attractive to them or that they don't care for you or even love you deeply. The reason that they don't is actually something that is probably completely unknown to them. It's just not something that is in their realm of awareness. They're not going to respond to it the same way because they're not meant to respond to it the same way. So if you think about your twin flame and you being of the same soul, which is what a lot of people believe, is that twin flames are the same soul split into two different bodies. Some people think that they are not the same soul, but they are two souls born of the same monadic egg, which means that they would have the same soul blueprint. But either way, whether you're in this camp or that camp, the thing that would kind of tie those things together would be that you are similar in nature and meant to be together, right? That you are connected from the soul's inception and connected on a deep spiritual level to like that singularity, to the core of what the soul is itself in creation. So whether you're one or the other, it kind of doesn't really matter, because the result is that the two of you energetically are bound as one. Okay. But with your divine masculine, their reaction to meeting you and the encounter is so different that we want to know why, and it's because it's meant to be. They're supposed to react differently. The purpose of meeting your twin flame, although in the beginning it feels like it's because it's meant to be the most profound romantic relationship of your life, it's actually something much greater and much deeper than that. There is a leading to the most significant relationship in your life that takes place as a result of meeting your twin flame, but not in the way that you might suspect or think of it in the early parts of your relationship. So when we are born into this world, we are born into a world where we are programmed to seek out answers outside of ourselves. We're completely projected outward. We're looking at our environment. We're assessing and learning from our environment. We're looking for information from our parents, from our caretakers, from our authority figures to learn how to navigate and survive in this world. And we're born into it completely helpless. So by the very nature of that, we have to depend on things outside of ourselves for survival. So that creates an innate and deep, programming within us that is there from the time that we're born. We were born into that type of world. So of course, that's how we learn to adjust. Because of that, because we are so externally focused, or you could say exoteric in our thinking and in our way of dealing with the world, and we're never taught anything beyond that, we seek validation, answers, opinions, and everything from something outside of ourselves. The twin flame journey is meant to turn you inward and to start the process of ascension. So you could say that the soul descending into an earthly body becomes exoteric, right? We become externally focused. But a soul that is ascending becomes esoteric. They go within. So your descension is external and your ascension is internal. And so your twin flame is meant to kind of switch gears, switch your perspective, your way of thinking from being externalized and, through projection into something where you can go within and learn and grow and turn inward, because that is where your spiritual core is. Up until we meet our twin flames, we're so focused on the outside world, we don't even realize that there's an internal one. So even with religions, when we go into religion, or even in most spiritual circles, it's still very externally focused. And it's okay. It's because that's the way that we've all been programmed to be. But a true spiritual journey, a true spiritual path is all about the inward path. And that, journey back to the core, the monad, which is really, really, truly where you and your twin flame are actually connected. So of course, meeting your twin flame is that pivotal point in your soul's ascension where you go from this direction back in, right? So the breath of Brahma is out and then in. You could look at your journey kind of like the breath of Brahma. You go out and then you come back in, okay? And that's your full circle of the, of the twin flame journey, right? It's the Ouroboros. I'm probably messing that up, but you guys know what I mean. Of the twin flame journey, you end where you begin, or you begin where you end, right? Because there's really no beginning and no end. It's just cycles. And so you're in this process right now of having been in the cycle of being in the world, and now you're going into the cycle of your spiritual awakening, going within. So if our twin flame didn't run from us, and if our twin flame acted the same way that we do, we would never be forced to go within and look for our answers inside of us. When we first go through the runner chaser phase, we are searching drastically, like all over the place for answers. What just happened to me? Why am I seeing all these numbers? Why did my, what is this twin flame stuff? Why am I suddenly watching tarot and why are all these weird synchronicities and strange things happening to me? Well, we go to Google, we go to spiritual teachers, right? We go to books, and we start searching, and these are all wonderful things. They're all part of the journey. It's meant to happen. It starts out as it has been, as we're outside of ourselves looking for answers. But we always keep getting these answers from all of these different people, from different books, from all these synchronicities, that the answers aren't out here, they're in here. And so all of the information that we find that seems valuable to us keeps pointing us to go within. And so then we start saying, well, what does that even mean? What does it mean to go within, right? What does it mean to be present? What does it mean to be on a spiritual journey, right? So we all start looking at these things, and it feels strange and foreign and almost inauthentic at first. Well, that's because it is strange and foreign. It's something you've never really done before. Because like I said, religions are still pointing us outside to a God outside of ourselves, to a devil outside of ourselves, to all of these things that we're supposed to do in order to become worthy of heaven, right? Or to be worthy of getting into heaven. That's the exoteric journey. And as you get further into this, you'll realize that that's a lie. It's an illusion. But it is also okay because it's part of the journey. Okay, it's meant to be there. It's meant to be that way in the beginning. But once that shift takes place and you start to go within, you realize that it's been backwards. Okay, the inward journey is where your true answers will be found. The inward journey is really where you find that God exists within you. The spiritual realm exists within you. And you're already worthy of heaven. You're already worthy of blessings and abundance. And trust me, you wouldn't be going through what you're going through right now if you weren't. It's just that it can't be found outside of you. Because the kicker, the true reason why it can't be found outside of you is because everything outside of you is created by that which is within you. So one of the best ways to kind of look at this is like a reflection in a mirror, right? If I want to change the reflection in the mirror in front of me, because the reflection's real, right? A reflection is real, but the reflection isn't the source, right? It's just a reflection. It's still a real thing. It still exists within reality, but it isn't the actual source of the reflection. And if I try to change the way that the reflection looks by messing around with the mirror, I'm not going to get very far, right? Because that reflection is going to always reflect back what the source is of the reflection. And so you could break the mirror 1,000 times, and you could have a bunch of little shards and pieces, but they're all going to reflect, each one of those pieces is still going to reflect the same thing back. The only way to change the reflection that is in the mirror is to recognize that it's the illusion, it's still real, but it's an illusion or a copy of the original, which is you, the source. So then you can go and you can change your hair, and you can put makeup on, and you can do things to change the source, and then the reflection therefore changes. So your twin flame is part of the reflection, okay? They are part of the reflection of everything external to you. And they're the first to show you this by running from you. And the more you try to change your divine masculine, mess with them, try to manipulate and coerce and, get them to talk to you, and you could try a whole bunch of different things to try to get them to behave differently, and they're going to continue to pull away from you. And that's because they're not the source, and they are part of the design that the source has created, which is the higher self of you, to get you to turn within and recognize that there is a source of that reflection. You may feel on some level, for each one of you, it's going to be different. So I'll just throw out some possibilities. You might not feel worthy of love. You might feel unattractive. You might feel worthy of love, but you've never been shown that kind of love by anything outside of you. So you don't trust that people will love you or see you for who you truly are. You may not have faith in relationships, or maybe you've been burned really hard and been through some really difficult things, abuse and all different kinds of things, to the point where trust and, knowing how to have a healthy relationship are difficult for you because you have trauma. All of these things are things that need to be looked at within the individual. But when we're chasing after our twin flame, the truth is, what we're hoping is that they can love us and show us that we're worthy of love by reflecting back to us what it is that we're seeking. But the mirror can only show us what we truly are. And so if we are seeking outside of ourselves, our twin flame is going to be seeking away from us because they're mirroring what we're doing, right? So as soon as we start focusing on ourselves and on the inward journey, suddenly the twin flame stops running and starts focusing on us. It's a energetic thing meant to teach you to go within. But there's a lot of flailing around that takes place in that process of learning how to go within. So don't be hard on yourself. It's going to take time to start to really learn and understand these things. A lot of what I just said will make perfect sense to some people, and to others it's going to feel really complicated, and you might have to listen to this a couple of different times to really understand what it is that I'm trying to communicate. And that's okay. For me, it's taken years and years and years to get to the place where I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on the twin flame journey and why it happens the way that it does. And I'm really good with it now, whereas I can tell you in the beginning, I was not good with it at all. I was an absolute mess. That's the truth. An absolute bumbling mess, which is also for another video. I will share that with you, that story with you guys, coming up fairly soon. But I did want to talk about that. The reason your divine masculine does not obsess over you is because of the fact that you are obsessing over them. So they're going to obsess over something else other than you. They're not going to obsess over you. They're going to mirror what you're doing and show you what you're doing by doing it like you're outside of yourself. They're outside of you. Does that make sense? If you're focusing on them, they're going to focus on other things, not you. And that is... So let me put it this way. The source within you doesn't use language. It can't just like appear in front of you and say, okay, look, you're a twin flame and you need to wake up and you need to go through this ascension process. And so your divine masculine's doing this and your divine masculine's doing that. And this is how it's going to happen. And this is going to work. And this is the rules. And this is the, the playing field and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't work like that. The way that source speaks to you is through the mirror, through what's being reflected back to you. And it's your soul's journey to learn what that is, what that means, and how to master over it. And so everything outside of you is going to either point you inward or further away from that source. And you have to use your discernment as to which is which. The thing is, though, you don't need to be worried about it, because if you happen to take a path that seems to lead you further away from the center, from your truth, which is what you are, in the long run, it's just going to loop you back around. It's going to teach you something. That's what you could call shadow work, right? It's going to introduce you to your shadows, the things that keep you from self-actualization and self-awareness and keep you externally focused. And so it's going to show you those things. And that's why you'll hear me say often, the universe gives you what you need, not what you want. It gives you what you need to show you what's keeping you from what you want. Since you are the source of creation in your universe, okay, you are in your own universe, which is the university of life, right? You are in this school of life right now, learning about yourself as a soul and the powers that you actually possess, and the ways that you wield it to create life. How it shows up for you shows you what's going on inside of you. So shadow work, understanding the self-reflection, presence, all of these things are very important part of your individual spiritual journey and path. So we don't want to bypass any of them. We don't want to bypass the negativity, because the negativity is just as important as valuable as the positivity in your life. You're in the middle. You're in the center. You're learning balance through your twin flame. Positive, negative, neutrality in the center, the middle path is where wisdom is. And so whether you're in the camp of pleasure seeking or depression, and usually we're vacillating back and forth between both, and either way you're out of balance. If you're too far this way or too far this way. Balance and harmony comes from being that centered within, right? And so there's a whole bunch of information that we'll go into about that stuff. This is a journey that's taken me, and I'm still a student of it and always will be. But it's taken me a long, long time to get to the place where I understand what I understand now, and can only give you tiny little tidbits of that in these little videos. But hopefully with the accumulation of them, I can start to paint a bigger picture for you that will make sense and help you in each individually in different ways on your journey. So I'm just a vessel. I'm just a conduit. Source uses all of us as conduits to each other to drop little tiny little synchronistic tidbits of information in our path to lead us. But the true adventurer, the true hero in your journey is you. You are the center of it all. You are the whole shebang. It's all about you. And that's not in a selfish way, right? Of course, that's not what we mean by that. But what we mean is that this is your soul's journey, and it's all showing up for you to teach you and to help you learn and to grow, to give you what you need so that you can get to the place where you can create what you want. Okay? It's going to show you all the areas in your life and in your internal world that are not in alignment with what it is that you want to create. Your soul knows what that is already. And so the things that are happening with you and your divine masculine, I promise you, even if they're extraordinarily painful and they seem way out of whack, way off path, they're actually not. They're not at all. They're exactly as they're meant to be. And as you progress on this journey, you will know more and more that that's true. It will be proven to you over time that that is true. So keep your chin up. Okay. This is all happening for you because you are exactly what the universe needed. And no one can bring into this world what you can bring into this world. You're that important. And so am I, and so is everyone else, which is why none of us is important, right? We're all so important, yet we're not important. And that's kind of a little example of collapsing duality right there. We're special, but we're not special. We're important, but we're not important. And it's because the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? I can't do what you can do. You can't do what I can do. So the universe needs both of us, which makes us very special, very important, and very unique. but we're not any more special than anyone else because we can't do what anyone else can do either. So it allows us to recognize and really sit in the truth of our value and to know how important we are. But we can also share that message with everyone else and realize that they are just as special too. There's no need for jealousies or envies when we're in that place. There's something very healing about knowing that that spark of divinity is within each and every one of us, regardless of where we're at in our spiritual path and whether we recognize it ourselves or not. It's still there. And so your divine masculine does not obsess over you because they're not meant to. And that doesn't mean that they don't love you. That doesn't mean that they don't care about you or that this relationship has no impact on them at all. It's quite the opposite. It has just as deep and profound of an impact on them as it does for you, but it's not going to look the same as yours. It's not going to show. I mean, think about how much you hide from your divine masculine that you don't share with them. Think about that mask that you wear to seem perfectly sane and perfectly normal and within the boundaries of what's normal, right? You want to be presentable and likable and lovable. And so we mask a lot of who we really are that we think isn't worthy or that we are worried could be viewed that way. And so we don't say everything that's on our mind. We don't share everything. And that's okay, right? Because we probably shouldn't share some things sometimes, right? We have to use discernment in that. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is when you stop and think about how much of your own world is hidden from the view of others, including your divine masculine, you'll realize how much of theirs is hidden from you. And that's actually okay as well, because it's not about them. Okay? It seems like it's about them, but it's not about them. It's actually about, it's not even about you. Okay? When I say you, I'm talking about the little me you. It's not about the identity or the story of what you think you are. It's about the self. It's about the core. It's about the divine within you that's trying to kind of lure you back home, wake you up from the illusion of Maya, from the dream of creation, to remember that you are the creator of that dream. And that if you don't like the dream that you're dreaming, the power is completely within you to change it. So I'm going to end there, but I will have more for you soon. So thank you so much for listening. And if you guys are interested in any kind of one-on-ones or joining our group calls, you can find that information in the description box below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps our channel out a lot. And we do have our course coming soon that is going to really go in depth in everything and anything related to energy, the spiritual awakening, the dark night of the soul, the connection between you and your divine masculine, what that is, the mission of the twin flames and what that is, your connection as a soul to the universe. All of those things are going to be spoken of in great depth throughout the course, and I'm putting it together as quickly as possible. So stay tuned for that, as I'm very excited to launch it, and I think that it's going to give you a lot of information that has taken me a very, very long time to not only find, because it's not easy to find, but also to make the connections and then be able to turn around and articulate it and put it together in a way that will hopefully benefit you and help you guide yourself on your own journey. Okay? So take care, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.